The jobs report was surprisingly very good. In fact, it exceeded expectations. The range of job predictions that I was seeing leading into this were between 90,000 jobs created for the month of September to, in the high end, if it was going to be good, 220,000 jobs. So that was supposed to be the upper echelon of what was possible this month. Instead, we got 254,000 jobs, a slight decrease in unemployment, while also the Fed has cut interest rates. And so this is a good combination of factors heading into the election 1 month away. And I don't think we're gonna get any more jobs reports until election day. Because we might get one for October, but when are we gonna get that? November 2nd, November 3rd? It might be November 4th. It might be like a few days after the election when we get the October jobs report. So this very well could be the last jobs report until the election, and it exceeded expectations by 1.5 miles. Let me read you some of this. The U.S. economy added far more jobs than expected in September, pointing to a vital employment picture as the unemployment rate edged lower, the Labor Department reported Friday. Non-farm payroll surged by 254,000 for the month, up from a revised 159,000 in August, and better than the 150,000 Dow Jones consensus forecast. So Dow Jones predicted almost half of this. The unemployment rate fell to 4.1, down 0.1 percentage point. With upward revisions from previous months, the report eases concerns about the state of the labor market and likely locks in the Federal Reserve to a more gradual pace of interest rate reductions. August's total was revised by 17,000, while July saw a much larger addition of 55,000, taking the monthly growth up to 144,000. Strength in job creation spilled over into wages, as average hourly earnings increased 0.4% on the month and were up 4% from a year ago. Both figures were ahead of respective estimates for gains of 0.3% and 3.8%. The average work week nudged lower to 34.2 hours, down 0.1 hours. It was wow across the board. Much stronger than expected, Kathy Jones, chief fixed income strategist at Charles Schwab, said of the report. The bottom line is it was a very good report. You get upward revisions, and it tells you the job market continues to be healthy, and that means the economy is healthy. The stock market futures added to the gain following the report, while Treasury yields moved sharply higher. Restaurants and bars led job creation for the month, with the hospitality industry adding 69,000 positions in September. Elections around the corner, people are drinking, who knows? After averages just 14,000 over the previous 12 months. So we're talking about bars, we're talking about the service industry, restaurants, employment and waiter staff, barmaids and such. Barmaids, oh my God, what am I living in? Bartenders, etc. Healthcare, a consistent leader in job growth, contributed 45,000, while the government grew by more than 31,000. Other gainers included social assistance by 27,000 and construction, that one surprised me, by 25,000. A more encompassing measure of unemployment that includes discouraged workers and those holding part-time jobs for economic reasons dropped to 7.7. The share of the workforce either working or looking for work, known as the labor force participation rate, held a high, steady 62.7%. The survey of household employment, which is used to calculate the unemployment rate, showed an even stronger picture, with a gain of 430,000 as the employment to population ratio increasing to 60.2%, an increase of 0.2. Job creation tilted strongly to full-time positions, which were up 414,000, while those reporting part-time work fell by 95,000. So a lot of complaints you can hear about job creation is part-time jobs, or people getting maybe a job where they're working 10, 20 hours a week. But this one had, jobs in construction, jobs that could be considered full-time jobs. Not all of them, but full-time jobs. Unemployment fell, much exceeded the expected amount of jobs created in the month. All around, a really, really good jobs report. I mean, the economy is not going to change overnight. There's still a lot of issues. I'm hoping the Harris campaign does not pitch this as, yay, everything's so. Of course, they're not going to. We're going to show you a clip of how Harris is reacting to this job report versus how Trump is reacting to this job report. But first, let me show you how the cable news networks reacted to it. We're going to start with CNN because they were just more baffled and befuddled and giggly over it. And then we're going to move over to Fox, which honestly had a problem in trying to find a way to complain. Let me show you this. First, CNN.
Wow.
The first word you hear.
Wow. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. So the expectations were around 140 to 150,000 jobs added net last month. Take a look at that blowout, 254,000 jobs added net. Also, the unemployment rate, we were expecting that to come in around 4.2%. That actually went down in the month to 4.1%. In terms of what's adding this, the food sector, we're perhaps going out and drinking more ahead of the presidential election. Who knows? That was
I stole their joke, or they stole my joke. I forget.
a contributor. Construction also added. Healthcare was a big gainer as well. Government jobs adding. It doesn't get better for the White House and for the Harris campaign than a jobs number like this, 1 month out from the presidential election.
You heard it from their mouth. You heard it from their mouth. It's good for the Harris campaign, certainly. It's good for the economy. It's good for the country, which is more important. But this is the thing. Do you guys remember the Tokyo crash from a few months ago? You guys might not remember, but there was a brief Tokyo crash from Tokyo. Okay, let me stock crash. Maybe that'll help instead of. So there was a stock market crash in Japan back in August, or I think it was a little bit before in August, and it was bad. There was a lot of market turbulence. It tumbled and tumbled and tumbled and tumbled, took a really big hit, and it also affected American stock markets. And there was like a brief period when it went down, like a few of the major stocks went down like 1,000 points. It took a hit, and I saw all the major accounts, including Trump campaign accounts, going out and calling it the Kamala crash. And they were trying to get the hashtag trending on Twitter and also social media platforms, calling it Kamala crash, Kamala crash, Kamala crash, Kamala crash. And to be honest with you, and while this is not true of every conservative, because I believe in all political movements, there should be, and there are people that root for the country, and I think that's good. But at the end of the day, there were people over there that seemed to be rooting for the economy to crash because it was more important winning than the country doing well. And one of those seemed to be the Trump campaign. Now, look, it is what it is. It's a presidential campaign. If the job numbers were bad, I'm sure Harris would pounce on it. If the job numbers were good, Harris would trounce it around. You get the idea. It's a campaign. It is what it is. But to see what almost felt like frothing excitement at the idea of right now, some months out from the campaign, the economy going under, didn't sit well with me. Now, this problem of not being able to really pitch against the Harris economy with these jobs report was most clearly seen on Fox News. Well, they brought on guests that really wanted, it seemed like they wanted, or they were ready, or they were prepared to try to tear this jobs report a new one, and they just couldn't find anything to complain about. Look at this. There's not one data point in here that I can point to that is not good from a Fox News guest on the job report.
So the September jobs report is out as of 90 minutes ago. Came in hotter than expected. Good number, high number, 254,000 jobs added. Unemployment ticked down to 4.1%. Lou Bazanis, Chief Market Strategist, President of MDB Capital, with us here. And good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Before we get to Trump and Harris making their pitch this week, what do you make about the number?
I'm an optimistic guy, but I got to be honest. I thought there would be more red flags than at a communist parade in this report. And there's not a single one. And the reason I say that is because we had such a wide dispersion of what the expectations were. 70,000 on the low side, 220 on the high side, and we got 254. And there's not one data point in here that I can point to that's not good. You had 150,000 people come into the labor force, 430,000 jobs added, some of those in areas that are catch-up sectors from COVID, so healthcare, education. And then the one thing that really stands out to me is wage growth. It's slightly accelerated, and this is key for the Fed, because if inflation is still stubborn, you need to make sure that employees and everyday Americans can afford and absorb the price hikes. So,
and look, this was not just one segment. They brought on multiple people, they had multiple people discuss it, and they couldn't get anything. And it got to the point where the Harris campaign, as you can see here, they got Harris HQ tweeting it out. They were just, all they were doing is just reposting Fox all day.
David Barton is with us this morning. Great to have you here, David. All right, strong jobs report. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Warren. It's really hard to put a negative spin on this. It was a good...
Oh, God, that felt good to hear.
Guess what? David Barton is with us this morning. Great to have you here, David. All right, strong jobs report. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Warren. It's really hard to put a negative spin on this. It was a good jobs report. Yeah. The unemployment rate lower, the total jobs number higher. Because I'm a long-term...
You know, it's hard to put a negative spin when every single... Look at that. Green, 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 up, 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 up. Look down at down futures in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Up, up, up. You look at the bottom ticker. Up, up, up. You see those things at the bottom? Look at those things at the bottom. Everything except for one thing is green. Green, 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 green. Oh, bad day over there.
Have you here, David. All right, strong jobs report. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Warren. It's really hard to put a negative spin on this. It was a good jobs report. Yeah. The unemployment rate lower, the total jobs number higher. Because I'm a long-term, big-picture macroeconomist, I'm always worried about the lower labor participation force. I want more people in the workforce. But as far as the percentage of people that are in the workforce and looking for a job, a good portion of them have one. It's pretty easy right now to hold a job, but at the end of the day, wages are what a lot of people are looking to, Ash, and the real wages have kept up pretty good here as of late, so it's a good report.
Guess what, David?
Now, I think we got one more thing I wanted to show you guys from this, because that's what it was like on Fox all day. And so, you know, they just cut through a few segments on immigration, and that was that. But I want to show you the difference in two campaigns' reactions to this report. So, as you would expect, the Harris campaign is happy about the report. And I was worried that the Harris campaign, a month out from the election, would make the fatal flaw of like, great, this is probably the last jobs report we're going to get, and it exceeded expectations. Run with it, run with it, run with it. Call it the great opportunity economy is already here. Yeah. If you oversell, on one hand, this is the problem. The Biden campaign did not sell its accomplishments when it comes to the Inflation Reduction Act, when it comes to the CHIPS Act, when it comes to the insulin cap, when it comes to the drug negotiation victory the Democrats have been fighting for forever. Like, they didn't really sell these victories enough, right? The child tax credit and how it cut down child poverty and how they fought for Republican sovereignty. These accomplishments, I don't think they sold enough. Either they didn't get the information to the people, because, I mean, I was listening to some people say, like, I'm angry at the Democrats because, like, I'm not getting the child tax credit anymore. What do you mean? They passed it. It was the and I feel like I want to flip. And a lot of it's bad marketing, bad PR, not selling this to the people. Of course, there are still failures, but if you don't sell your accomplishments, all you end up doing is making people think you didn't do anything for the last 4 years. And then when the other campaign says, how were you feeling 4 years ago compared to now, and you haven't been told what has happened in the last 4 years, well, then you've got a campaign problem. But on the other hand, I don't want the Harris campaign to overcorrect and start going out there and pretending that Biden and her are economic miracle makers. And while America did recover better than other G7 comparative countries, at the end of the day, Americans still have, excessive amounts of things like credit card debt. Housing prices are still high, and we need to increase the housing supply. There's still a problem with grocery prices. Inflation is on the way down, but you need to talk about how you're going to keep it down more and how you're going to keep it stable down, because people are worried about that price going up and down, possibly again. And explain how that was in relation to COVID recovery policy that was necessary to avoid a recession. So you've got to balance selling your agenda while making clear that there's still more work to do. And so the Harris campaign came out and said that they had a good jobs report, but they still got more work to do. So while of course, like Harris could always, like all politicians, could still be a better performer, could still maybe sell it differently. I would want her to maybe be more policy specific in her proposals when talking about this and not just talking in vague generalities of price is high, bring low. I mean, I understand like you're running against Trump and you're trying to get that median voter, and getting lost in the sauce might not be the best strategy. But still, this is the better path than the one I was worried about.
We need to lower the cost of living. Look, our economy is making good progress. Just this morning, we got a solid jobs report, right? Over 250,000 jobs created last month. Unemployment fell. And just a few weeks ago, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, which helps. But there's still more we need to do. Prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. And I have a plan on lowering costs on everything from health care to groceries, including taking on corporate price gouging.
Look, corporate price gouging does exist, but it's also not a miracle cure-all because not all industries are engaging in price gouging activities. Some of them have to do with, just market conditions. So, it's a good policy. It's an economically lefty, populisty policy that might sell well. And I do agree with it on principle, but I also don't see it as a miracle cure-all. Again, but I'm not the general audience that she's pitching to right now because she already got my vote. Well, not that it matters in Maryland. Angela Olson's vote does matter in Maryland.
As Attorney General, I saw what happens where there are a few of them, not everybody, but those who take advantage of desperate people, in particular in the middle of an emergency, and there needs to be consequence. I will give a tax cut to 100 million Americans, including $6,000, extending and expanding the child tax credit. So during the first year of a child's life, young parents have the support they need to be able to buy a car seat, to buy a crib, to take care of their child during that first year of their life, knowing it's about setting them on a path to do everything they have a natural desire to do.
When you look at what money for the child tax credit was spent on, the vast majority it was household necessities. While there was some like spent on movie trips and stuff like that, the vast majority was on household necessities, things like childcare, maybe even some extracurricular activities for children. That's well documented and well tracked.
And look, I say all this to say, I will always put the middle class and working families first. I come from the middle class, and I will never forget where I come from. I will never forget where I come from.
Okay, now that's one side of it. Let me show you the other side of this. So what Trump has been saying about job creation in the United States, and it's not just Trump that's been saying it, but it's also others who have been saying it as well in the Trump movement. Let me see if I could find this. I thought I had it pulled up, but I don't have it pulled up. The idea generally from Trump is that illegals are taking all the jobs. And he's saying, I remember the one quote that really got me. Okay, this is the one that where the lie was so blatant, it was so over the top, it was so bad, I almost thought I misheard it. Where he said that, 1second, 110% Trump jobs quote. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Here is the beautiful, beautiful quote from this beautiful, beautiful man.
Cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force and their jobs are taken. And by the way, you know who's taking the jobs that are created? 107% of those jobs are taken by illegal aliens. And you know who's being hurt the most by millions of people pouring into our country? The black population and the Hispanic population because they're taking the jobs from our black population.
107%. We're finding new numbers. We're creating new numbers here. They're just taking so many jobs that it breaks math itself. That's terrifying. I'm terrified. I am terrified. This isn't the only time he said it. The other time he said it, it was even more stupid, where I think he said it was 110%. And he said that scientists had discovered, and you can look it up if you don't believe me, that scientists had discovered this new number in order to account for it. And it was 110% of new jobs were going to illegals. So we're literally bending the laws of math in order to account for how many of these jobs are being gobbled up by illegal immigrants. It's incredible. It's incredible. But the lie is so blatant and it is so bad that even Fox could not defend it. And I guess after the $850 million lawsuit, they're a little careful about perpetuating lies with no pushback. Well, at least more careful. Not exactly careful to the everyday standard, no. Careful to what they used to be, yeah, I guess.
Right, I don't know what poll he's referring to where he says he is up 7 points. And one other reference I want to refer to when he was talking about more illegals are accounting for these jobs than anyone else. I don't know where he is getting that. In the latest employment report out today, 254,000 jobs were gained. Says nothing about annotations for illegals getting those jobs, nor would it.
He just throws it out. He cannot, if everything has to be the worst case. The problem with Trump is it has to be the worst or the best thing ever. If it's him, it's the best thing ever. Every job goes to real Americans. None goes to illegals. If it's Harris, then every single new job goes to illegals. None of them go to real Americans. And that's the only dichotomy. That's the only black and white world of campaigning he can live in and he can thrive in. The enemy has to be the devil, and he has to be the reincarnation of God's most beloved new child. It always has to be that, or he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to campaign outside of those stark contrasts. Stark contrasts, so stark that they don't even make sense. Also, you see he's standing there next to Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp looks a little repulsed, doesn't he? Also, little disgusted that Bluey is there. Didn't think he wouldn't be endorsing Trump this campaign. Thought it would be above him. But there he is. Fascist little Australian. Concept of 107. Can I find, 1 second, Trump jobs, illegals, scientists. Come on, I gotta find this quote. It's just so funny. It's just so funny, him just trying to be like, no, like scientists had discovered like a new number so high that they're losing so many jobs that it's impossible to. I gotta see if I gotta find this video. Ah, man. Here he is. Here it is. There we go. I found it. It's real. It's a real quote. I told you it wasn't fake. I know it sounds fake, but it's real.
That's in July. Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually right now, as of the time they did this, virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone. That's in this year. Has.
Why is it pausing at the end of the quote?
Year,
that's weird. But you can see that again. He keeps repeating this idea that it was over 110. It's new numbers. The number people are discovering to show that it's actually above 100%. You can't get above 100%. I guess, sorry to explain that. You can't get above 100%. I like that he switched it though. Now, before it was just migrants. That could be legal, they could be illegal. Now it's illegal. Now that he's down in the polls, it's no longer just migrants are getting all the job. It's illegal migrants are getting all the jobs above 100%. $110% with a 10% margin of error.